I played 100 hours of Pokopia, and it was incredible. Although the game is the same for all of us, each playthrough I've seen is so different and unique, and I wanted to show you my playthrough. I also wanted to show you my quest to complete the Pokedex and some cool stuff I built along the way. So let's get into it. I wake up and customize my Ditto with Polytoad colors. We go through the tutorial, which is amazing. I'm very charming with Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. But we're released and we're free to do whatever. And there's so many exciting, cool things I can explore, but I decided to just water some grass. It was very cathartic, just making sure everything was looking nice. But after a bit, we're making new habitats, we're spawning new Pokemon left and right, and it's so exciting. What's cool is, well, some spawns are predetermined at the beginning, some aren't. For example, I got a Volbeat spawn very early, but didn't get a Pidgey until hours into the game, where my friends had the opposite happen. And after exploring, we find a Koga outfit, and we also get Acerola's hair. But since the Koga outfit is found in the first town, and we're close to what I think is Bicycle Road, I have to assume this is Fuchsia City. And between the CDs and the lore drops and the clothing items, I love the tie-ins to Pokemon, and not only Kanto, just Pokemon as a whole. But we churn through this first area, and I know a lot of people make their first area look really nice before continuing, but I was just too excited and I couldn't wait, so I'm progressing through the story pretty fast. And that's where we go and find Slowpoke. We walk him ever so slowly over to our crew so we can go rescue Onyx, because we need to make it rain. Things need to get humid. And I actually had everything for this setup already, so I didn't need to raid Tangrowth's stash. But my little setup apparently didn't work, so I need to get his cast form plush. But it's alright, not only do we summon the rain and then Kyogre shows up, but the other cast form doll setup gets us a Goomy spawn, which I am in love with. And it's crazy. I didn't know what legendaries to expect coming into it, and Kyogre definitely wasn't one that I was expecting. Next, we still have a lot to do, but I cannot wait to get to the next area. And while the first route was cool, being in the beach, aka Vermilion City, is amazing. I love this zone because I get my boy Trubbish, which had a Ditto plush on the Pokemon Center, by the way, and it sold out before it could get one, so I'm in pain. But anyways, while him and Gloom love the trash and the sludge, Piplup and I have to clean the entire island outside of their little area. And as we're doing this, we see a Lugia flying over. And this is one of the most magical things in the game. Yes, Lugia and Ho-Oh fly over you many a time, and it becomes very common, but the first time you see it hits, man, it is so exciting, and when it drops the feather. This area also has Mosslax, which is probably my favorite new form or variation or whatever you want to call it, and then Smearguru, which is very exciting. And even more exciting than that, we get to go and explore the SS Anne, which we find a lone Happiny there. And it feels just wrong setting up her habitat here and then leaving her alone, but at least we can spawn an Audino to take care of her. And as the new Pokemon are popping all over the island, another Pokopia exclusive form shows up with Pikachu. What is Pikachu? A dead Pikachu? I am not totally sure, but the one thing we know is it lost its electricity. And as we're trying to help Pikachu get back its electricity, we're also trying to brighten up the island to wake Mosslax. And as we set up all the equipment, it gets brighter and brighter, and Mosslax's flowers bloom. He still doesn't wake up though, but good thing our secondary legendary encounter, Raikou, shows up and hits Snorlax with a Thunderbolt. But as we talk to him, he lights up the whole beach for us. And at the end of every area, we finish by building the Pokemon Center, and we're on to the next town. And we peek our head into a side area, which is called Pallet Town, which we can get a few spawns here, but really we're just going to return here later. This is where I'm going to spend a lot of the post game. But the next story zone we need to go is up to the mountains. And this is pretty much Pewter City. But Pewter City is covered in ash and there's lava below. It's kind of this crazy sight. But entering each zone, it's not only exciting seeing everything that this zone has to offer, but you get a ton of new Pokemon spawns. You get to try different combinations of grass, flowers, and trees and just see what comes up. And after a while of getting new spawns, we meet Chef Dente. And after saving her, we learn all the recipes we need to power up our moves. She talks about her trainer a lot, and my headcanon was Brock raised Dente with him being a chef and also living in Pewter. So with our drying pan, now a frying pan, we can harvest crops faster, create grass easier, and most importantly, mine all the resources we find in the tunnel. And down here in the tunnel, we actually find a Volcarona and a Charcadet, which seeing them in the trailer was what really sold me in this game. I was so excited about all of these different biomes, and this one looked so cool. I really want to build something really cool down here at some point. And exploring has never been easier with the help of Graveler, because now we are zooming with his power. This is my new mode of transportation from now on. And we also find Brock's outfit, which is now my new favorite fit. And as we explore, we hear something deep inside the cave, and it's a new form of Rotom, DJ Rotom. And out of all of the new forms, I feel like this would be the easiest to add to the mainline games. I actually kind of doubt they will, but it would be cool to see what additional typing they gave it. But I have a lot of CDs saved up, and Rotom only takes 5, but I assemble my 5 favorite bangers, and we put on a playlist, and it's time to throw a party. We decorate the space, run around, do all the errands, and then I bring Ludicolo to get this party started, the ultimate vibes Pokemon. We gather ingredients from Chef Dente, where we find her trainer's diary. The chef diary mentioned how Charlotte hated Chesto berries, and one day he snuck one into her soup and she loved it. So obviously that's the special ingredient for our party. And as we finally get the party started, I would never have guessed the Pokemon that would show up. I thought it was going to be Groudon, but it's actually Volcanion that shows up. Before ZA, Volcanion got 0 love, and now this is his second game appearance in the last few months. Anyway, we are now master rank, and I was a bit disillusioned. I thought there was going to be 2 different zones because I knew there was an entrance in the Bleak Beach and there's an entrance in the Rocky Mountains. So I thought those were 2 different zones, but they both lead to the same place, which is the final zone we're going to go. And that is the Sparkling Skyline. And this quickly became my favorite area. There's a lot of cool Pokemon here, including Rookidee, Sprigatito, and all the dragon Pokemon who spawn here, including Dragonite, which teaches us how to fly. And when I say fly, it means slowly falling and gliding, but it's still cool. And as we fly to the next island, we meet Tinkaton, which has an interesting looking hammer, but she fixes the lift and we set our sights on bigger goals. The big building, aka Silphco. And as we collect cement, the glass, and all the other materials needed, we explore an island and I find Poliwrath. Yes, Poliwrath is in the game. Does this mean I could potentially get Politoed? I hope so. But we talk to him and we find his buddy Alakazam, where we learned how to make elevators, and we fix it up and go to Poliwrath's dojo. And this place is so cool because it's essentially just like the old dojo in the game. And right after, at my home base, I find Poliwhirl, which is sick, and we fly a little further off and find a wandering Gardevoir who is looking for a human, or at least they sensed one coming, but instead it was us. And as we continue to explore in what I assume is Saffron City, we are learning more and more about why the humans left. And we find out a lot. When playing, I had been convinced that there was some legendary Pokemon that caused a natural disaster like Kyogre and Groudon did in Gen 3, but they all seem pretty chill. I don't think everything was caused by a Pokemon. Everything was just natural disasters. They're pretty vague about what this natural disaster is, but from a PokeLife dev diary, it mentions meteorological anomalies caused disasters that led to shortages in food and energy resources all around the world. That PokeLife developer started as an activist trying to restore these habitats of all the Pokemon. And as they're trying to do this, an influential foundation in another region visited them and wanted to help, aka the Aether Foundation, which is so cool. It's connecting other regions in a largely Kanto story. And it makes sense since this disaster is happening worldwide. But that's when they developed an app which can be accessed at the PC, where you can do things like water plants, planting seeds, and these gives you coins that turn into virtual prizes, which is exactly what we've been doing as Ditto this whole time, which is brilliant that even the user interface is tied into the story. Although they still have to leave the planet, they use this app in all the Pokemon centers to determine if Earth is ready for them to return again. And we have been repairing everything pretty well, I like to think at least, so why hasn't this application informed them that they can't return? Well, that's where we have a following diary by a hacker. He hacked into the Aether Foundation servers and found large hurricanes and strange weather patterns were happening in Alola, but fitting enough, still with a bad habit of needing complete control, they used their influence from the media to make sure that the news didn't spread outside the region. The hacker was caught and was given a rundown by the Aether Foundation of everything that was going on. But unfortunately, this is exactly what he wrote. The people from the foundation were surprisingly polite, and they explained what happened in detail. I have no intention of writing it all here. Like, come on, man, I want to know, and this is an indication we probably will never know the exact details, which is kind of frustrating for me. But that's when the Pokemon Conservation Project begins. Essentially, all humans were to vacate to space while Pokemon were stored in the PCs. Originally, they were going to send back a few people to check on things and to see if it was a good time to remove the Pokemon from the PC and to return. However, the hacker realized a big problem in this plan. Humanity didn't have enough fuel to return, so he programmed a backup plan into the system. Whenever a suitable habitat was available for a Pokemon, it would automatically release them into it. And that's why when we, as a player, create habitats, the Pokemon are showing up. It all makes sense now. And with that blast of lore, we build up Silph Co to its former glory, and we climb to the top where we get our craziest encounter yet. Okay, this has to be Mewtwo, right? Like, anything else would be a letdown. And oh my god. Yeah, why is this so epic, man? Every other legendary, they just kind of showed it. This is like such a build-up. I guess he's like the legendary for Kanto, but holy, Aura Farm. Still, this is sick. Yeah, that's awesome. With that, Mewtwo informs us that the last human he saw was in Fuchsia City, where we started our journey, and they put a building out by a nearby beach. So the building we have been delivering resources to this whole time has humans inside, which means we continue to gather and deliver these resources for them until we get our final request: deliver a cherished photo. So I went town to town, gathering all of my favorite Pokemon I've met along the way and brought them back to the building. We take our photo, we hand it over, and from our celebration, we startle the humans that were in the base. And we now know them as Team Rocket, who blasts off into space. And with the supplies we provided, they make it far, but eventually come to a stop, where our photo flies out of their ship only to be met with no other than our trainer, where they can finally see the Ditto that they raised is doing pretty well and has plenty of friends by his side. And while the humans don't return, the credits roll, and I personally believe that they will. You obviously can't make it happen in a game like this, or Ditto's gameplay loop is going to be ruined. But in one of the trainer's diaries, they wrote, "No matter what, I'll come back someday and we will travel the world." I really believed him. But it's time for the postgame, which essentially I just have some one-off tasks to do for some of the main Pokemon. One includes this Magnemite who is stuck under the Team Rocket base, who gives us the best transformation yet, which essentially gives us a bit of a creative mode. Outside of that, we start gathering Pikachu's old friends for a reunion, and then we make a habitat for the one and only Professor Tangrowth, who I grew to love. As I gather more diaries, we read the story of when Tangrowth was just a Tangela living with the professor. We find the day before he was set to go into the PC with the other Pokemon, he ran off. So it's implied this whole time he was roaming the earth. And while the habitat isn't much when we spawn in at the beginning of the game, I like to think he was the reason we were able to spawn and start this game. But at this point, I have been trained to do one thing and one thing only after completing a Pokemon game. It is time to complete the Pokedex. Now, while Pokedexes and other games involve training and evolving and even trading to other games, this one doesn't. The difficult part of a game like this is figuring out which habitats spawn what Pokemon and just waiting for them to spawn. Some are very common and then some are very rare, which you have to wait days even for them to spawn. But as we're filling out the decks, we get some of my favorite Pokemon, including Politoed, which spawns in the sauna. We will make a crazy home for him in just a bit, but it's taking a while though. I walk over a shimmering spot that shows me a new habitat every so often, but it's kind of getting slow for the rare spawns. That's when I learn if you give Mosslax spicy food, it increases the spawn rates, which I guess a carrot is considered spicy? But the next week of my life revolved around searching for habitats, hoping they spawned, and I got a lot of spawns. And getting much closer to completing the decks, I get a Mewtwo encounter on a dream island, and he comes to live with me in Fuchsia. So this is making me realize I need the legendaries. The first few were pretty straightforward. We used a lot of resources and a lot of manpower, but we were able to build the abandoned power plant to find Zapdos, the Altar of Flame to get Moltres, the Freezing Chambers to get Articuno, and after all of this, we were able to get the Tidal Bell where we could call down Lugia, which is just insane seeing him up close after so long of him just flying over us. But the next part is kind of hard. The legendary dogs you get, they're found on the Dream Islands, which is only a small chance to see them every day, which Drifloon only takes you to one island every day. So this is gonna take some time. And in the meantime, I was frantically collecting all the CDs and the relics. Some I am still looking for to this day, but we eventually get all of the mysterious slabs, which was my favorite thing to collect. Every time I got one, I gotta put it into the puzzle, and it was just so satisfying seeing it come together. It makes it even better as we are rewarded with a Mew coming to join our town. Also, at this point, I've realized there's tiers to the Mosslax buffs. So I made a carrot bread, which gave me an even bigger buff, and finally I got some rare spawns to finally spawn. And we're nearing the end of our Pokedex. At this point, I ran into an issue where I didn't have the necessary recipes for some of the items. I got a lot of them just from unlocking max environment levels, but I still needed a few. So I went to the developer island to start taking pictures of them. Here, you can turn the picture into an actual item using rare Pokemetals. I was originally against this because it felt cheap, like touch trading a Pokemon to complete the dex, but it's clearly part of the intended experience, since that's primarily what the resources is for, and Pokemon themselves even are promoting like, hey, come visit our island, use this function. But that's not the only shortcut I took for this dex. The legendary dogs just weren't spawning for me. I heard some horror stories where people time skipped and it took like 50 days to get one of them. So I treated it like a shiny hunt and did some of my first ever time skipping. I swear, not even in Scarlet Violet had I done it before. I like my Pokemon to have the correct dates and descriptions. But as I try it, while it did save some time, I got Suicune after 5 time skips or attempts, and then Raikou after 2, and Entei after another 2, which is a total of 9 days that it would have took, and I definitely could have waited for that. But with the legendary dogs added to the dex, I can then call down Ho-Oh with the Clear Bell. This felt like the ultimate reward. Man, he's just so big. This is so sick. I should be reading this, but I'm just so excited to get him in my decks, man. Oh my god, this is insane. And at this point, I had 4 Pokemon I needed to spawn, and they just wouldn't for whatever reason. The first we finally got to spawn was a day later, and that was Tatsugiri, which we set up a lot of beach chairs for it actually to spawn, but we got the 2 other forms shortly after. We then got Dragonair, followed by a Gengar, and to top it all off, the final Pokemon to be added to the dex, the one that was giving me so much trouble, the rare, one-of-a-kind Plusle. Yeah, I don't know why this was the one that took so long, but with that, we got a recipe for a new dowsing machine where me and Drakloak hunt down the hidden building, which turns out to be Game Freak's HQ. Just like in the old game where we print off a certificate, which was always my favorite part about completing the Pokedex. The only difference is this one is one I can frame in my home. And yes, I built a home, which brings me to my last order of business of Pokopia. I wanted to build a home for my favorite Pokemon, Politoed. When I took my sister through all my habitats and all of my buildings, she certainly wasn't impressed, which is why when I went to her island and I saw everything was clean and pristine, I knew I had to get building. So I traveled to Pallet Town and I started. This probably took 30 hours of the 100 to complete in this video because I built Politoed a whole town. And after a week of construction, I'm excited to show you where Politoed now lives. I really took the Let's Get Humid to a whole nother level. But instead of a walkway, we have a water path, which was low-key inspired by the Pokemon Heroes movie. Part of me wants to build something like what's in the Destiny Deoxys movie, but I do not think I have the time or talent for that. Anyways, on the dock, we have some boats over here, and if we go further down the dock, we see a big Team Rocket Magikarp submarine, which I know it's scuffed, but I thought it would just be too fun to give it a go. Also, there's a few restaurants on this side, and as we go up, we can explore the houses where some are themed, like the Pikachu house where I live upstairs flexing my badges, or there's even a space room where some space-themed Pokemon live, where we can do some research to how we're going to find the humans in space. And then one of my favorite rooms is this Golden Go and Gimmighoul house, which is just essentially all of my loot. We also have a gym where the Poliwag line lives. But wait, what is this back here? Yeah, that's where all the trash and the sewage goes, which is where you guessed it, Trubbish lives. But that is a tour of the Politoed paradise. And Pokopia truly is a magical game. This was such a refreshing experience and a game I know I'll continue to be coming back to. But I made a Twitch channel which I plan to use to stream some of these hunts that I'm going to be working on in the future. So it'll be in the description if you're interested in that. But I just wanted to say thank you for humoring me and watching me through this fun journey that is Pokopia. And I will see you in the next video.